And it's got to the point now where it's like, I'll be honest, the past couple of months, there's been many times when I thought, this is just too much. I haven't taken a vacation for the past 2 years, and I work every weekend as well. I was thinking about my health a little bit more.
Hi, once again, my name is Angela, and this is Upper Class. This is where you get to see the leaders behind the spotlight. So, beyond the titles, we are here today with Andrew Millard, and we are so glad to have him over. Andrew, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. So, Andrew, like what I mentioned just a few seconds earlier, I've been stalking your LinkedIn. So I
Yep.
know a little bit about you, your professional life. So I know the version of you wherein you're the head of the Department of International Relations at Chengwon University. And I also know that you're the Busan chapter head representative of the ECCK. So, but beyond the title, I want to get to know you a little bit better. So maybe you can tell us a
Okay.
little bit more about yourself and give us a surprise. What's Andrew all about? Who are you behind the spotlight?
Okay. Well, sure. So you're right. In terms of my jobs, I work for Changwon National University. I'm the head of the International Relations Department, also the head of the Busan chapter for the ECCK. I'm also a board member for Busan Global City Foundation, and I sit on various committees as well. So I'm definitely a busy boy.
I knew it. Just looking at your profile and how busy you have been, I just knew I had to get you on the podcast because I know I have so much to learn from you. And I'm really curious as to how you manage your energy. And I'll ask you about that one a little bit later. But first off, you did mention right before I hit record that you came originally from the UK. Now, typically
Right.
people have a general plan before they travel. Like, oh, if I'm going to travel, I would have a general plan, like, how things would pan out. I wanted to ask you, what's the one thing that you were convinced that you were going to do when you're in Korea? And now, years down the road, you'd probably laugh about it like, oh, yeah, it didn't work out that way. It's not the way you imagined. Was there a moment?
So actually, my coming to Korea, me being here in Korea,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's fate. I don't know. So I'm from England. I'm from Manchester originally, but I went to university in Newcastle.
Okay.
So this was back in 2001. I originally planned to only study German. So it's very
That's
different. My
interesting.
original goal, my dream from when I was very little was to be an airline pilot.
Wow.
That's all I ever wanted to do for
That's
literally my whole life.
nice.
But I also wanted to go to university. But to be a pilot, you don't need to go to university.
I
So
read
I
the
was just,
same thing, yeah.
well, I'll go to university. I'll study German because I quite liked German. And I was good at speaking the language. So I went there to study German. But in the first semester, basically, they sent me a letter saying, you have so many credits you need to fill in the first year. If you only take courses in German language and culture, there's not enough. So
Right.
you need to choose basically one
A
or
couple
two more subjects, any
Right.
subject, just to fill
Just
the
to add on
credits.
to the credits, yeah.
And so they sent me this list, and there was like, Japanese, Chinese, French,
Languages.
very randomly, there was Korean. And at this point, this is again 2001.
Right.
I had no idea about Korea, what type of country it was. All I knew was the basic north-south divide.
Sure.
And so I thought, just for
Why
one
not?
semester,
Yeah.
I'll take the
Yeah,
class.
why not? Just go for it.
Why not? And then basically that changed my life.
That's wonderful.
That's how it went. So basically,
That's
that
wonderful.
first semester, that first year of Korean, carried it on into the second year, was then given the opportunity to be an exchange student for one semester in Germany and then one semester in Seoul. But that meant changing my degree from only German to modern languages. So German
Okay,
and
because
Korean.
because you got multiple languages already.
So I did that, came to Korea in 2004. I was up in Seoul, so in Kyunghee University as an exchange student. Great time, great experience. Went to North Korea with that university. And went back home, graduated. Surprisingly, couldn't find a job in England where I could speak Korean.
Okay, I wonder why that is so.
So So I'll be honest, I did apply for a couple of jobs in sort of the aviation industry.
Right.
One of them, I got very far to the very last stage, but then
Sure.
ultimately didn't make it. So I thought, oh, come back to Korea, not study, stay there for 1 or 2 years, teaching English, save
And
some
then 20
money.
years down the road,
And
I'm
then,
still here.
yeah, 20 years later, I'm still here.
Oh my
So
gosh. And speaking of which, I mean, like, I also wanted to ask you, like, when did you figure that, oh yeah, this is where I belong? I've already acclimatized. So when did you get that aha moment wherein was it a person that kind of figured like, oh yeah, you've probably been here for quite some time, or is it just finally just being totally C1 level or C2 level of using the Korean language? What was
So
that
it's a
moment for you?
good question. What I would say is, I liked being in Seoul as an exchange student, but I didn't
Mhm.
like living in Seoul. So
Yeah, tell me more
when
about
I
that.
was an exchange student, I had some friends, Korean friends from Busan.
Mhm.
And before I
Yeah.
went back to the UK, we came down to Busan just for a few days. And I've
Okay.
immediately loved Busan. It's a big city, but there's beaches, there's mountains, there's space to get away from
Wow.
everything. And
Okay.
so I thought, oh, if I ever come back to Korea, I'm not living in Seoul. I'm going to live in Busan.
That's where you're good.
I'll
It's a
be
good
honest,
balance. It's a good balance then.
I don't know what it is. So I
Mhm.
think I said before, it's like fate has brought me to Korea. I definitely feel something has drawn me to Busan and the Busan Gyeongnam area. I
Mm.
don't want to go to other areas. I definitely feel at home here. And
Well,
there's
that's
something, like I
wonderful.
said, the jobs I've had, they're all based here in Busan. The opportunities, they keep coming back to Busan
Uh-huh.
rather than the other cities.
Was that planned out or was that like,
It was
was that
definitely
by
not
design?
planned.
It was
I
just
mean,
like fate.
the only
Like it just
plan
suddenly it just everything just started working out that
Right.
way.
So the only plan was when I came back was to come to Busan. But again, my plan was only 1 or 2 years here, not 20.
So it definitely has a hold on you. I mean, like
Right.
whatever is that thing that has a hold on you, it still definitely has that
Right.
vibe for you. Because for you to stay on like 20 years down and you still feel very passionate about the space. I mean, like that's something. That's something that's really awesome about
Oh,
Busan.
yeah. I mean, so I'll be honest, living in Korea as a foreigner
Mm-hmm.
can be quite difficult at times. It's not
Sure.
the easiest country to adapt to for
Interesting.
various different reasons. A
Interesting.
lot of people come here, they love it. When you marry into a Korean family and you really start to understand the deep culture,
Culture, right?
then it can be a little bit, what's the word? It's a diplomatic word. Unique,
Challenging?
different.
Unique. Okay, unique, different. Okay. I love how you're defaulting to the diplomatic terms.
Right.
Very
Yeah.
international
Um,
relations right here.
but that's because it can be the same in whatever country you go to.
That is
If you
true.
go into a country with a different culture, there's going to be
Hmm.
those
That
challenges,
is true.
those
That is
differences.
true. And especially since you have a different culture, like, from the West to the
Mhm.
East. I mean, like, these are very different cultures.
Right. So to be honest, for the first few years, it was a little bit difficult. I mean, it has taken me a little longer to really feel fully at home here.
Hmm.
Again, having said that, for me, I just love Busan and this whole region. And I find it strange that everyone outside of Korea, everyone knows Seoul and
Right,
everyone
right,
recognizes Seoul.
right.
And very few people know about Busan, but just the way of life down here. You
Mhm.
have everything. It's a big enough city. You can do whatever you want. There's plenty of jobs. There's huge variety of industries in this whole region, but just no one knows about it. So
And
actually,
now
through my
I can
jobs,
see. Yeah, I can
this is
see
kind
that.
of
Yeah.
my motivation to promote the whole region, to attract more attention and more business, more people coming here.
Yeah, now, absolutely. Now I can see why they got you as part of the European Chamber of Commerce because you feel so passionate about this. And speaking of which, the next question that I have is like, we did mention that you have a significant role that you're playing at Changwon University and at the European Chamber of Commerce. And just as it is, because you did mention like you're a very busy guy. I mean, like I'm pretty sure I've barely scratched the surface of like all the titles and honorifics and all the different activities that you are probably juggling on a daily basis, right? Now, with all the roles that you are juggling and that you are doing, That's actually a recipe for a burnout, I think. But I seriously wanted to ask you, like I did mention, like, when we were corresponding, I actually wanted to ask you, like, have you ever had that moment where, guys, just stop? Just can you just leave me alone for a moment and let me compose myself? Have you ever had that stressful moment? And how do you overcome that? Because like I said, multiple roles.
Mm.
So how do you manage this?
So I'm going to be honest, quite often I have those thoughts of, oh, this is
Too
just too
much.
much. There are,
Too much. I'm just one person. Calm
there
down,
are,
people.
I'll be honest, just this month.
Hmm.
So if we go back to February, so I took on the role of the head of department at the university in March. So in
Of
February,
this
I
year.
applied for some individual funding.
Okay.
I also joined was part of a different group who was applying for a 3-year funding program. Then in March, took on this role of head of department. This month, I've joined another group where we've applied for a 6-year funding
Good gracious. And
research.
you're not stressed out just yet.
And then, of course, on top of all this is the European Chamber. So organizing various events, so networking events and things like that. I'll be honest, the past couple of months, there's been many times when I thought, this is just too much. I've
Good
got to start thinking
gracious.
about my health a little bit
Uh-huh.
more.
Yes.
But
That's true.
because I've been in Korea 20 years, also I've recognized that I have changed a lot as well. I'm no longer the sort of that Western, that British person who
Mhm.
would be like, oh, it's the weekend, I have to rest.
You
Or
gotta, like, cut people off, or like,
we
yeah,
need 5 weeks of vacation a year. So I was
sure.
actually just thinking about this. I haven't taken a vacation for the past 2 years, and I work every weekend as well.
Wow.
And
And is this a
it is a lot.
European culture, or is it a Korean culture
This
more
is
so?
definitely Korean culture.
Korean culture. Oh my
So
gosh.
I can feel it myself. I've definitely changed a lot, but I'm now also in this space where everything sort of is connecting. So
Mm.
teaching international relations. So I focus on European studies. That was what my PhD is in. So that connects very well with the European Chamber. So I can invite companies and guest speakers to the university to talk to our
Works out.
students.
That's
I can
wonderful.
take our students to some of our company sites and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a very
Yes.
big connection between all of the roles.
Oh my gosh.
And it's got to
Changwon
the
is
point
very
now where
lucky.
it's
Your
like,
students are very lucky then.
I don't want to give any of this up
Uh-huh.
because I've worked
Yeah.
so hard to build up to where I am. If I
Yes.
sort of step back, then it would be kind
Mm-hmm.
of like, oh, what have I been doing all of this for?
I totally
So
understand where that when
it's sort of a
that part.
catch-22.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have
It's
to
like
keep working
I've
hard.
already done this. I mean, like I've been building up to this moment, and then why would I want to stop now? I mean, like you've already got your momentum going.
And I think it's very important people understand this. I am not doing this for money.
Mm-hmm.
Changwon National University, it's a public university. So effectively, I'm an education civil servant. So
Right.
I'm not on super huge wages here. The work I do at the European Chamber, it's freelance and
Right.
it's a non-profit organization. So I'm,
Yes.
again, only getting a very small allowance for that
Right.
job.
An honorarium
And
as
the
well.
others are all
Right.
voluntary. So I want to make that clear. I'm not financially profiting hugely from all of
Yeah. Of
this,
course. Yeah.
but I'm still motivated and dedicated to keep pushing as much as I can.
Yeah. Where is that motivation coming from? I mean, like, is it like a need to be a superhero? Is this more of like, oh, yeah, I want to make a difference in the world? Where is this coming from? What keeps you motivated? Like
Um,
beyond the part, like, yeah, everything is starting to make sense. I know I'm building something. Why should I stop now? But beyond that one, where is that intrinsic motivation coming from? What keeps you going?
this is a very good question. I've never really thought about that, to be honest. I think it's just got to this point now that because I've started doing it and now I'm building this momentum. And again, around Busan and Changwon, Gyeongnam, Ulsan, this whole region, wherever I go to meetings or events, people are
Hmm.
starting to say, oh, I saw you on LinkedIn. More and more people are connecting with me from different
Right.
countries
Yeah,
because
same
it's
here. Yeah,
so
right
in
here.
Korean,
Example.
they have
Go
this
ahead.
word 실적, which
Shit.
basically means like the practical experience.
Okay.
And basically now, because I've started to get all of this experience and it's starting now to pay off and
Right.
I am seeing the results. This is
Sure.
what I think is really what is motivating me to carry on.
I get
It's
it.
not really for personal gain. when you read my LinkedIn posts, for example,
Right.
the
Yes.
one thing I always try to make sure I do is not make it about me.
It's
So
always
if
about
you
the
read
people
the
that you're
posts,
serving.
I try to avoid using I. So
Hmm.
I want to make the post either about Busan or about the company
The
I'm
company. Yes.
promoting, or just the region or Korea or the European Chamber.
Yes.
So that's really my motivation.
That's wonderful. I can see you as an ambassador for Busan already. And you're in the perfect position to do that one as well. I mean, like what you said, everything seems to fall into place. And why stop now? I
Mhm.
like what you mentioned here. I learned a new word today. I hope I say it correctly. Shukcha?
Uh,
Shukcha? Right.
should
Shukcha. All right. See, I'm taking down notes. Very old school of me. Well, you also did mention earlier, like one of the Korean cultures that you have actually started to acclimatize to is the concept of just always being switched on. Hope, like, I mean, like, at least that's the impression. So, is there still a part of you that still wants to draw the line, put a boundary here once in a while, or like you're just totally all in?
there is part of me that wants to just say, sometimes I just want to turn my phone off, just switch
Mm-hmm.
everything off, just
Yeah.
just go home, like in the old days when I was a student, just lie on the sofa all
Right.
weekend watching
Right.
rubbish TV or movies, doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But what I find myself doing is I'll go home and then I'll be checking LinkedIn, or someone will send me an email, or someone will send me a message on whatever
Right.
platform. And I'll be honest, I very rarely switch off.
Right. You're
But like,
very
like I
much
said, there are
Korean.
times when I do recognize, I need this
You
weekend,
need
I
to
need
switch
one day
off.
just to
You just
just
have to switch off once in a while. I mean, like, how
right.
do you switch off though? I mean, like, it's not gonna be like every weekend, but then if you do get a chance to switch off, how do you switch off? Like, what do you do to kind of like, disconnect and just like, recharge yourself?
So I have three children, sorry.
3 children, right?
I have three kids, and they're a little bit older now. Actually, my oldest one is in England studying there. She's
Oh,
living with my mum.
okay. Sure.
My other two, they keep me busy,
Okay.
but we have a little dog. I like to take my dog for a walk
For
and spend
walks.
time with
Yeah.
him. So in the
Right.
summer, we go to the beach
Okay.
quite a lot.
Well, keeps you grounded. As long as it keeps you
Right.
moving, keeps you grounded, lets you like, switch off even for just a few short moments. I mean, at least you've got that one going, you got your health
Right.
going. Remember to keep yourself hydrated and get the movement going because
Right.
you're
So actually,
very important. You're a very
so we
important
live
person. You
in
can't get sick.
we live in an apartment that's on the first floor, on the ground floor.
Mhm. Okay.
We actually have a little garden, which is quite unique in Korea.
Oh, is it? Okay.
And we have like a big bush that sort of goes around, so it's a little private enclosed area.
Sure.
And
That's
all of the
nice.
other houses, they phone up and they get the guy to come and cut it all for them.
Right, right.
I
You got the
actually, because I'm
gardener
from
and all.
England and we have gardens, I like going out and doing it myself.
Mhm. Same
Even my wife's,
here. Right.
Andrew, just call the guy, he'll come and do it for you. I was like,
Right,
no, I
right.
I want to do it. I want to be a little bit active and just switch
That's
off a bit.
true. And I totally get where that is coming from. I mean, like, I can relate to that one. I mean, one of the things that I also do to switch off is just do some gardening stuff going
Mhm.
on. Like, I do the trim and prune the
Right.
plants that we have
Mhm.
here. And I heard like, it just keeps you grounded. Like grounding, that's the term that they use now. Like if you're walking barefoot on the
Right.
soil or like, that's what they call grounding. Or like when you're walking out on the beach with your dog, that's also grounding. Like, I think that's also pretty healthy. And I think that's one of the things that we actually need to learn and to
Mhm.
just kind of stay sane, I suppose, just to keep it on track. There, because I also just wanted to go back to the part where, yes, you know how to switch off, but then you don't do it that often. But as much as you can, I mean, like, yes, we would want you to switch off as much as you can. But we also know that you have an important role as the head of the international relations department at the
Mhm.
university. Now, you have been teaching at the university for how long already, if I may ask?
So I've been in Changwon for just under 4 years, and before
Okay,
that, I was in Busan University of Foreign Studies for 8 years.
wonderful.
So
So
about
you've
12
been in
years.
yeah, you've been in the academic world for quite some time. Now, given that perspective, I also wanted to ask, what do you think would be a good skill that students should have so that they'll be able to survive when they graduate from university? Like a practical skill.
So what we have to do here in Korea
Mm-hmm.
for all the professors at the national universities anyway, we have to give what we call consultations to our students. So every semester, we have to do at least 20 consultations. So students will come individually, one at a time, and we basically
Sure.
just sit down with them and we talk about how is the studies, how are your studies going,
Mm-hmm.
what are your plans for the future, blah, blah, blah. What I always encourage my students to do, and I did it myself, was to take an exchange program, whether it's
Okay.
just 1 year or 1 semester. Because for me, anyone can come to university, sit in the class, take notes and study. For me, the most important time that I had at university was that year abroad when I went to Germany as a student and Korea.
Mm-hmm.
This one, obviously, you're continuing to study, but you're
Yes.
developing independence. You're having
Right.
to organize everything on your own, communicate with
Right.
different people, understand different
Yes.
cultures. So it's building
Absolutely.
that independence, building that confidence as well. And I think those are really the important skills that are
Life
needed
skills.
after
Life skills,
graduation.
exactly. Exactly. I totally agree. I mean, like, beyond being book smart, doesn't matter if you're
Mhm,
book smart, but if you don't know how to apply yourself or to communicate or to how to get along with other
mhm.
people, it's not going to be worth it. I mean, like,
Right.
all those thoughts, all those brilliant thoughts will just be stuck in your head and you won't be able to articulate it if you don't know how to read
Mhm,
people or acclimatize to and adapt to different
mhm.
environments. Totally. Yeah.
And
I'll keep
especially
note of
for
that one.
Korean students, what I found
Mhm.
is they're very shy. Korean
For
students do not like to
real.
speak very much in
Uh-huh.
class. A lot of them, so again, in the consultations,
Right.
they'll say, because I teach in English,
Yes.
sometimes Korean, but mostly in English, and they'll say, how can I learn English? And I'll say,
Mhm.
look, in my class,
You gotta
there's French
practice.
students, there's Polish students, German, Chinese, Vietnamese, all these different students who can't speak Korean, go and
Right.
speak to them in English.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, but professor, I'm shy. I can't go and speak to them." And what I'm saying to them is, you know what?
Mm.
Go on an exchange, go and live abroad, push
Right.
yourself a little bit.
Yes.
The ones that do go on these programs, when they come back,
Mhm. They're
they're
so
just
grateful.
completely different. They're
Right.
so much more confident, so much more independent.
Yeah.
It's really great
I
to see.
can imagine. I can imagine. I mean, like you're saying, like, yeah, just go for a year or a semester, but look at you
Mhm.
now, 20 years down the road, you never know. And you're
Right?
you're right on point. I mean, it's like swimming. You won't be able to swim if it's all theoretical. You
Right?
gotta you
Mhm.
gotta jump into the pool and actually do the laps for you
Exactly.
to
Yes.
actually appreciate and learn how to swim. It's pretty much the
Mhm.
same thing in life. I mean, like you gotta go be independent and like, let go
Mhm.
of the safety net once in a while. I mean, like
Uh,
yes, you'll be able to still swim back, but you gotta put some distance from like, beyond your comfort zone. Move beyond your
exactly.
comfort zone. Exactly.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. So another thing that I also wanted to ask you is because you have experience with dealing with people in the academy and people in the business sector or in the
Mhm.
boardrooms. Now, I'm sincerely curious and I don't want to get in trouble for this and I don't want you to get in trouble with this one, but I really need to ask because you know both perspectives and both
Mhm.
personalities. You've seen them both sides. Who do you think has a bigger ego? People in the boardroom or people in the faculty room? That's one. Second part,
Mhm.
who would you rather deal with? Who would be easier to manage? Freshman students or people in the boardroom? What are your thoughts on this?
So, just based on my own experience,
Sure. Yeah.
firstly, South Korea is a very hierarchical system. In South
Yes.
Korea, they like their,
And they have a term for this. I
I
forget
think
it. But I've heard of it. But yeah, okay, go ahead.
but they definitely they have their positions. Age is very important. So, who is
Mm,
older, what your title is,
yeah.
and this is something that I've seen is much stronger in the business community. Whether you're a 사장님 or 대표님, so the president of the company, or whether you're
Okay.
the head of department or team manager or lower level manager, this is very
Mm-hmm.
important. So actually, um, for example, well, we can stick. Also, it's the same in universities. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know a lot of names of people
Yeah. Okay.
because they don't really use their names. They use their titles.
Interesting.
So I
Okay.
used to
I
work,
learned something new. Okay.
for example, in a TV broadcasting company. This was like 15, 17 years ago. And
Okay.
I worked there every week for about 3 years. I could not tell you any of their names, but I
Because you
know
keep on.
who was a PD, who was a producer,
Okay.
who was a
All right.
cameraman, because they used just PD님 or 감독님.
Okay.
They would only use their
Interesting.
titles.
Yeah. They're always about the titles, the honorifics then. They're
Right.
very particular about those things.
And,
Interesting.
and I would
Okay.
say, even though in the university there's also, so there's professor, assistant professor, I'm sorry, assistant professor. So is that hierarchy?
Right.
It's not as strong as in the business world. That's been my experience. So I think, and especially once you get up to the boardroom level,
Right.
there can be a bit of ego in Korea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got that. Interesting. Would you rather be stuck? Where would you rather be at though? Would you rather be in the classroom or in the boardroom dealing with the other members?
They're very different. I think so. Even though I have these different roles, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I'm not a businessman.
Okay.
So I think I would probably be a little bit more comfortable in the classroom
Okay. More
or
in the
giving a
education.
presentation at a conference
Okay.
or something like that.
Huh,
But yeah.
interesting. Okay. I also want to know if your intuition is sharp enough because you did mention that you would probably gravitate towards the classroom rather than in the business sector boardroom. Now, I also wanted to check if you're intuitive. How do you tell? Would you be able to tell which of your students would be bluffing? If, like, say, for example, somebody was late in submitting a homework and they say, like, yeah, I'm sorry, professor, I'm actually going through a crisis or whatever. Can you tell if they're bluffing or if they actually went to a party? Would you be able to tell? Do they have a tell?
Sometimes you can.
Okay.
Generally, students here tend to be pretty honest.
Okay.
So
That's
I've
good.
never really had any major issues with anything like that. What we do is if the students if they're sick and they go to the hospital,
Yeah.
or if they
Yeah.
have
You
some
get
sort of
the
family
medical
emergency,
certificate.
then if they hand in some sort of document, then we can check everything.
Sure.
If they don't submit a document, then we have, in terms of like attendance and things like that, then we usually don't credit them.
Okay. All
But
right. Gotcha.
sometimes
But
it's hard to tell, to be
yeah,
honest.
they're
But
getting better.
there was one student, and this is how honest they are.
Yeah.
This was in my university, so this was quite a few years ago now. There was one student who took my class. It was just a general education class, so anyone could take. This one student, she never came to any class. She didn't do any assignments. She didn't do the midterm or final exam. And she came to my office at the end of the semester, and she just walked in and said, "Oh, professor, hello. I take your class, but I haven't taken
Red
any
flag.
exams. I haven't attended, but will I still get an F?" And I was like, "Oh, of course you'll get an F."
Of course, because you didn't do anything. You didn't do any of the work.
But just the way she just came into my office, she wasn't, "Oh, I'm so sorry." She said, "Oh, hello, will I get an F?"
She's not even apologetic about it. She's
No.
like, yeah, am I still going to get an F? Even if I don't show up and don't turn in any paperwork? I mean, like, am I still going to get an F?
So yeah, so I generally find them quite honest here.
Well, that's nice.
It's not been
It's
a
a
big
good thing then. It's a good thing. Now, something less serious, because we covered a little bit about the school. I wanted to do something less serious, and I hope you don't mind my asking. Have you ever caught yourself being in a situation where, say, for example, because I know this is a culture in Korea as well, very similar to the Philippines, you have a karaoke culture. I think you call it norebang?
노래방.
Norebang? Yeah. If there was a song that your life depended on it, what would you sing at a norebang? And would you put in some choreography on this?
So I wouldn't dance. I'm not a dancer.
Okay, not a dancer, not a dancer.
I'll draw the line there. I'll be honest. Usually, if I go to the norebang, I just sing anything and everything.
Oh,
There's a few.
kidding. You can hit all the notes, the highs and the low notes.
No. But I enjoy it. There's a few. There's some Korean songs that I would sing. So there's a Korean singer called Kang Sane.
Okay.
He's, I guess, maybe in his sort of 50s, 60s now.
Sure.
but he sang a
How does it
very
go?
famous song. I can't remember the Korean title, but it's basically about salmon swimming upstream.
How does it go though? Let's Google
Oh,
that.
so I think the title is 흐르는 강물에. So it's a
So
more of
that
a
would be your
ballad
default
song.
song. So that would be the default song. Like you feel comfortable about singing that
Right.
one.
That would be one of my
Sure.
go-tos.
Okay. So I'll be sure to ask you to bring me to Norebang and then like when I visit Korea and I'll ask you to sing it for us.
Sure, anytime.
Okay. Oh, that's good. He's up for the challenge. Okay. Now, another thing that I also wanted to ask you is there someone like in your circle of friends or in your family who's not afraid to call you out? Like, okay, you're overcomplicating stuff or you're overthinking things, you're overanalyzing things. Is there someone who does that for you? Because of the multiple roles that you have, I mean, like, I'm pretty sure you might need someone to anchor you. Do you have someone?
Um, Obviously, my wife is, I think, pretty
Okay.
good at.
Hey, good answer. I mean, like, hey, shout out to the wife right there.
She's very quick to tell me when I'm wrong, um,
Okay.
or give her opinions on when she thinks I am wrong.
Great. Good on her. Good on her.
But I'm one of those people. I don't sort of rush into things,
Okay.
even though I'll generally accept any sort of opportunity. I'm one of those people who at least try something. If something
Hmm.
works, great. If not,
Sure.
well, at least you've tried it and now you know.
Right. No
So you won't
regrets.
never be any regrets.
True.
But I am one of those people. I would sit back a little bit and at
Hmm.
least think about things, consider things, how I'm going to approach them,
Sure.
rather than just diving straight in. Um, Generally, I think I'm quite a logical, quite a rational person.
Okay.
But if there's
Good.
any issues, if there's problems, then at the university, I have other professors who I can quite openly talk to.
Okay.
In
That's
the
good.
European chamber world, a lot of businessmen, mentors who I can reach out to as well. So
That's
I think
good.
I'm quite lucky. I have a
That's
good
good.
group.
That's actually rare.
Yeah.
I mean, like, not a lot of people, I mean, like, generally, people nowadays, they have a very small circle.
Right.
And when I ask them this kind of question, they really takes them a while, like, kind of stumps them, like, yeah, that's right. I don't know who's my default, who's my person right here. So glad you have multiple options right there. But I'm super happy. Shout out to the wife. Like, first credit right there. Yeah, my default person is my wife. She would be the first person to call you out. But at
Right.
least in any case, I mean, like if there are other concerns about work and all that, I mean, you have people from the university and from the
Right.
Chamber of Commerce. Right. So speaking of which, when you eventually, not anytime soon, but eventually, when things have run their course
Mhm.
and it's time for you to step away or walk away from these roles that you have, how would you want the Andrew Millard era? How would you want it to be remembered?
If we divide into sort of the academic world and the business world
Yeah.
separately, the academic world, I just, as much as possible, want to inspire and motivate the students, not necessarily just to study, but to at
Hmm.
least sort of, again, sort of be positive, be open to various opportunities, not to be so sort of tunnel vision with their
Right.
plan. So basically, sort of following me, I never
Your
dreamed that I'd be
steps.
in Korea doing these jobs, but
Yeah.
this is what can happen.
Hmm.
So just sort of motivate them, encourage them to try different paths and things like that.
Right.
For the business world, for the European Chamber, as long as people know that I've tried my best, that I've been dedicated to the job, that was all I really ask for.
That's beautiful. Okay. And our last question here is when the mic is off and the laptop is already closed, who is the Andrew Millard that the spotlight probably won't see? What's the one thing that would surprise the people around you? What would it be that would surprise them? Something about you.
I don't think there'd be anything too surprising.
Really?
I'm generally the same at home or away. I'm generally though a pretty quiet person. So when I'm
Mhm.
at home, so at university or the chamber, I can be on stage giving a presentation, emceeing a big event,
Sure.
doing lots of jokes, being very sort of active and sort of
Yeah.
outgoing.
Outgoing and
But
very
when I'm at home, I'm very quiet.
okay.
Just like to sit down, relax, watch
Right.
TV. So yeah,
So
I
there's a
guess
version of you for the public and there's a version of you for the private or for like, for family, I guess.
so.
Right. Interesting. Okay. Now we're building a room full of stories here at Upper Class. Who's someone in your circle who maybe is not always in the spotlight, but someone that we should probably invite for the podcast?
I guess someone who's not in the spotlight
Mm-hmm.
probably would be our manager from the ECCK here in Busan.
Okay.
So again, I'm the representative. I'm the one going to all these meetings, on taking the photos and putting them on LinkedIn. But
Right.
actually, when we have a lot of events, it's our manager who's full time here. She's the one organizing the venues, the locations, the food, sending
Right.
emails to making sure everything's organized. So she's sort of more behind the scenes.
Would
But I
we
think,
be able to name the manager?
yes, Kim Yeji.
Kim Jae-hee.
So
Oh,
Yeji, she works very hard. She's a very important part of the work we're doing down here.
well, that's nice for her to be recognized for the work that she does. I mean, like this is behind the scenes kind of work, and for her to get recognized, I mean, like that's really nice of you. Thank you
Oh
for
no,
saying
so
that.
we try and include as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But again, a lot of this work just happens behind the scenes. So it's the
That's
people don't
true.
see it.
Great. Well, Andrew, thank you for letting us see what it's like, walk in your shoes. You actually gave us a 360 kind of view. It's a sneak peek, 360 view, and we really appreciate it. Before we close, do you want to say a few words to our viewers? Something that they may want to consider if they want to have an exciting life just like yours?
I guess the only thing I'd say is just try to be positive. Like I say, whenever there's some sort of opportunity, obviously you think about it, but always try to be open to these different opportunities. You never know where life is going to take you. It's better to do something and recognize it's not right rather than not do it and
Mhm.
regret it later. So I guess
Brilliant.
stay positive, be active, the best thing.
Brilliant. That's very well said. It's very typical of your character and very typical of your personality. And I'm so, so grateful to have you here. And thank you once again, Andrew. I know you have a very busy schedule, and I'm so grateful that you're taking time out to be here at the Upper Class Podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been very interesting.
Thank you so much. And with that, my name is Angela, and this is Upper Class, where leaders get to step out of the spotlight and into their story. It's been a pleasure to be a guide on your side. So please make sure that you give us a share, like, and a comment in this section, and we will see you at the next episode. Thank you so much. Cheers. And we are done.